Hello everybody, it's Matt from Pure MTG, giving you guys an update on Commander Raids. So we've collected a bunch of feedback from Reddit, from Discord, and just from playtesting from friends and whatnot that have been playing our format. I just want to thank everybody on Reddit and basically everybody that gave feedback. It has been tremendously helpful, and we're so glad that you're enjoying the format. I've never seen such a positive post on Reddit, honestly. I don't know. Reddit gets a bad rap sometimes, and I was wasn't sure if people would like it or not. Obviously, you hope so, but you never know. So, with the feedback that we got from you guys, we kind of went to the drawing board and kind of wrote up and changed the rules for the baseline. We're kind of focusing on the baseline, and then we can kind of adjust that via some manipulation for the other two difficulties. So the baseline for the format is kind of designed for a 50-50 win rate versus a very strong precon. So what we've done is we've changed result 1 to replace creature with legendary permanent, because result 2 used to make you sacrifice legendary permanent and some creatures. Instead is now each opponent sacrifices all creatures. You'll also notice that the wording has been kind of updated to kind of match what you're expecting with Magic the Gathering. So for instance, each opponent of the boss monster, or the raid monster, each opponent would be all the players. So it's kind of to get around the having to say each player but the raid monster. Hopefully opponent makes more sense here. Let me know if that's the case. It should make more sense. Alright, so I'm going to kind of go through a broad array of what was changed. Basically, a lot of people had talked about sometimes it could feel really wipey. So results 2 and 3, 10 and 11, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Those were all of the sacrifice all your creatures or XDR creatures. Most times it was all, sometimes not enough. But for some, basically it favored very creature-heavy decks. Because if you can throw a bunch of creatures out there, you can kind of get around the XDR. X equals dice rolled, by the way. That's what XDR stands for. And you can kind of get around that by having enough creatures that effect didn't matter. And in real Magic, there's plenty of board wipes that wipe the board. I mean, in a standard Commander game, most decks run a couple. So it was fine to add a true board wipe to all of these effects if we were to rein it back a little bit. So basically what we did was 2 and 3 was the destruction or the sacrifice for all your creatures. 10 and 11, I think we probably just switch to it. 10 and 11 was each opponent sacrificed all tokens. 14 and 15 was XDR enchantments, XDR artifacts for 16 and 17. So what we've done is, so for number 2, each opponent sacrifices all creatures. That's just a global, but it's just for 2 instead of 2 and 3. So we've reduced the frequency that a board wipe will happen to a 5% instead of 10%. And now it won't feel so wipey, hopefully. It still can. 5% is still 5%. You can get it back to back in multiple turns. But hopefully this will, over the course of games, many games, hopefully it'll feel less wipey. Also, what we've done is we've taken it so that we've replaced those board wipe effects with targeted effects. If you noticed, effect 3 is now for each opponent, destroy target legendary permanent with the highest converted mana cost. Same thing for number 11. For each opponent, destroy target enchantment with the highest converted mana cost. And same for number 15 is for artifacts of the highest mana cost, and 17 is creature for the highest mana cost. And what this does is this allows abilities like hexproof, indestructible, shroud. It allows spells and abilities that bounce or flicker abilities. Stuff like ward. It won't have any mana. The raid monster won't have any mana, so it can't pay for ward. And any other ability that has stuff that has interaction like that where targeting matters. If it targets, if you have 2 converted mana cost of 6, it's just player choice. It's fine. You just choose which one, or you can kind of try to think about what would be the worst one you don't want to get rid of, and just take that one. I know it sucks, but think of it as another player choosing the most powerful thing you have, and then just go resolve it that way. That's the best way to resolve it. Yeah, so that's kind of covering over the board wipes. So there's less board wipes and more targeted things, so it should kind of even out feeling less wipey, and also giving all of those different abilities meaningful purposes. They're not all sacrifice anymore. Now there is targeting. Okay, so going to result number 12/13. 12-13 is the result that used to create just 1 plus XDR, DR, flying defender, creature tokens in front of the raid monster. We've replaced it with the raid monster creates 1 plus XDR, DR, so that hasn't changed, but they all have deathtouch. They all are also enchantment artifact creature tokens, and also all creatures attack each combat if able to do so until the raid monster's next turn. So that is a lot. This ability went from being kind of annoying to pretty strong, but I think, and so far we've playtested 6 games, and I would say it actually was it honestly felt better. Rob from my partner on the channel, he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure if he liked that like being able to he didn't want to change the rules, but with all the feedback that we got, he was willing to give it a shot. That's what we knew. We need to play test. So he gave it a shot. He loves it. We made a little bit more adjustments as we played, but it's actually turned out pretty great, and I agree. So what this all does is it makes removal much more important. A lot of people said that they felt like that creature removal didn't really have a purpose. They felt that it was kind of a dead card. And in some ways, yes. I mean, it always had the ability to make the defenders, but you could feel like sometimes it wasn't that big a deal. But with them having deathtouch, pretty big deal. This also gives artifact and enchantment removal a purpose. There will be plenty of artifacts and enchantments as long as you roll this. It's only a 10% chance because it's 2 results on a d20. But, over the course of X games, 100 games, you're going to probably have the ability to use your removal more often. But like I said, it gives Naturalize a great purpose. It kind of turns it into a pseudo Swords to Plowshares, basically. So yeah, it gives those kind of cards a good purpose. Also, it gives cards like Dockside Extortionist and makes those much more powerful than before. Dockside used to basically be a dead card draw. Yeah, it was like a 1/1 creature or a 2/1, whatever he is, but he didn't give any treasures, and that's a pretty flaccid dark side, if I do say so myself. Making them all artifact enchantments, it kind of solves all of these problems. It may be trying to shove too much into one to solve a bunch of problems, but I felt like it was the best place to do so. Our main goal with this format is to be very lightweight. Like, all you need is a d20. That's all you need. And the creatures. But we'll have something for that at least. Something you can print out. We have some tokens that I can show you. I'll show you now since we're talking about it. So these are the images that Bob was able to find. And he basically was just using AI art generated from whatever he typed, but these were kind of like some of the rough drafts we're looking to get printed out, and we can use make playing cards. They'll print card tokens for us, and I've got to design a back for the card, and it'll be like our logo and stuff like that. But this is the only thing this is missing is they'll have deathtouch as well, and I think that should be it. That's all that's changing in here. Yeah, so they'll look cool, and you can print these out if you want. This is all be free, and except for if you want the actual tokens themselves, there may be a way for either members of the Patreon or maybe we'll have it a place you can order them somehow. But yeah, we're gonna have physical cards printed. They'll be foily and stuff. It'll be awesome. But yeah, so this is basically what I'm trying to say is getting back to the point. We're trying to keep it as lightweight as possible, so we don't really want to make a bunch of tokens for it. Yeah, you could have cool emblems and enchantments that the raid monster gets that allows him to modify what rolls he does, and you can have all these cool a deck of cards where you shuffle through and you flip over. But ideally, all you need is this, and if you really need the enchantment creatures as well, the defender creatures that it makes, you could easily just on a notepad, on the back of a notepad, you could put how many DR, whatever, and put dice on top, and that can represent the creatures it makes. You don't need these tokens or anything. You can just use dice as well. But at any rate, that's why the baseline rules, we want that to be extremely lightweight and portable and not needing much. That way you can print this, take it to your LGS, and anybody at the store can play it as long as they got a D20. That's the goal. There will be very, very cool theme monster decks that'll have like they're all like a bunch of tokens. They'll have enchantments and emblems and artifacts that they're making, and special monster things. Like there's going to be a ton of cool stuff. But our main template, we'll call it, of the 3 different difficulties, maybe 4, because we're thinking of a brutal mode. Because we want, there's a lot of powerful decks out there, and sometimes it's a little too easy. So let's, maybe make a brutal mode. We'll see. Yeah, we just want it to be accessible to the most people. So, if that makes sense. All right, carrying on. I don't want to make this video too long. So lastly, I think, and to wrap up the tokens, this result is definitely the most contentious result that we have. It's difficult to decide what the best way for the raid monster to block, but so far it's been the best way, token generation in front of the raid monster. It's been the best way to kind of make it not feel like a big punching bag. We've tried it without the defenders, and it just feels like you're like hitting with mana dorks and 1/1s, and I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like Magic much when there's no decision making in attacking or blocking. It just feels kind of weird. The fact that it provokes is also a very strong ability because it's going to make those mana dorks either have to attack or tap down for mana. But the cool thing that I think that it adds is, of course, it's sort of removal for the boss monster. So, you're not... there's less wipes, but there is more of like the potential chance for your creatures to die if this is getting rolled, because this is still 2 results, so 5% per result, so 10% total. But I think it allows it feels like, to me at least so far in playtesting in the 6 games, is it kind of gives you more like reason to do certain things, like tapping down your creatures with Urge to Feed in my vampire deck so that I can kill one of the defenders and then tap down the creatures that I don't want to attack, so then I can attack with the things I do not really care about, and then like kind of like, like it's just more interaction, I guess, is more engaging with the mechanics. So far that's felt good. Obviously let me know in the comment section below and on the Discord. And then lastly, results 18 and 19 has had the life drain doubled. We felt like sometimes the life doesn't really matter. We want to pressure the life total a little bit more, because like dealing on the results 4 and 5, you're only going to deal 10 damage to each opponent, and most of the time it's like your life total's never in danger. And it's typically you'll concede because you're getting like board wiped or destroyed enough to where you have no permanence left. And you just kind of concede because it's eventually going to kill you. So I think we want to pressure just a little bit more. So yeah, doubling the drain of the life total actually felt more meaningful, because there are times, most of the time, just kind of like whatever. Like I'll lose 3, who cares? But when you're losing 6 and it's gaining 6 per player, it's significantly more powerful. It's double the strength. And then so far we've play tested it 6 times, and I think we've beat it 5 out of 6 times, and the games feel more interactive. They feel like they have more decision making, and overall it is easier. And that's kind of the idea, is that, like I said, that we want this format to be easy for anybody to grab a commander deck. And maybe if you've never played Commander, you can play solo. You can play with a friend, kind of like learn the ropes and kind of fight this thing and not really feel too bad playing the baseline difficulty. So it's kind of designed to not be too terribly bad, but still, I like a challenge, and I hope that people that are kind of playing these modes do like a challenge. There's still going to be easy mode, and there's still going to be more difficult. So you can kind of choose what you're feeling that day. But I think that this is a baseline for very strong pre-con decks, having like a 50-50 win rate. And if you kind of want to pub stomp the raid monster with a better deck, like I do with my Animar deck or the Sephiroth deck, or honestly, most of my decks are fairly strong. They have really very few problems with beating the raid monster on baseline. But like I said, it's designed more towards like the pre-cons. Like I've got the Streffin pre-con deck for the vampires. And it does okay. It's not great. It's got a really sick card in it. Mob Rule, I think is what it's called. It's 6 mana, sorcery. You can gain control of every creature with power 4 or greater, or gain control of every creature with power 3 or greater. That includes all of the raid monsters tokens, which can't attack, but it removes their blockers. But then all of your allies' creatures become yours for the turn, and they all can swing in. Mob rule's insane in this format. So obviously it gets even stronger with the more players you have and the more creatures they have. Like, it just becomes... It's won the game both times with this. That's the reason why we won both times, was with the mob rule card. It's just nutty. I'm not going to ramble on anymore, so thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked the video, please share, subscribe, and if you like the format, take it to your local LGS. The app should be coming out soon, so the app is going to be free. Hope to see you guys come into the Discord and raid with us. We've got a looking for groups section that we really like to start, playing games with y'all. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.